So I'm Nora Bashara from Upcycle Design School, and Upcycle Design School is a platform to educate people about upcycling. And I also have the Upcycle Design Masterclass that I offer. And so this is a part of my monthly workshop series where I bring in a guest every month to teach us about some element of upcycling. And so I'm really excited to introduce Trey Jordan, and he is going to show you guys how to create upcycled artwear. And what he does is just really interesting and unique. And he's going to share his story with you guys. And I will let you take it from there.
Hi, my name is Trace Jordan, and I'm basically the one and only CEO, founder, and you name it, I do it here at Amo Ergo Sum. I'm located in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. Can everyone hear me all right? Can I get an amen? All right, very good.
Oh, also, sorry, just want to jump in and remind you guys that this is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on YouTube and on the Upcycle Design School blog. So if you're not comfortable with having your face on the camera, just feel free to turn off your camera, but you're welcome to keep it on, and we'll be taking questions at the end.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Amo Ergo Sum, one of the first things I get is, what does that mean? And it means I love, therefore I am. I brought a lot of the elements of my life into my work. And that just seemed to be kind of, for this type of project, the appropriate language, and Latin, a dead language at that. Nora, what's the name of what did you put the name of the class as? What was the official? It's
called Creating Upcycled Artwear.
I fooled you. Of course, I'm going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about upcycling and everything else. But there is kind of a, you know what? I noticed there's an annoying light over my head. I'm going to see if I can take care of that. Nope, that won't work. So we'll just have to deal with, maybe I'll move back a little bit. Anyway, a lot of my work is, and what I believe in Amo Ergo Sum stands for, is in the work, and you'll see what I'm talking about later. But what really, upcycling is multifaceted, I am discovering. I'd like to call myself the accidental passenger on this little train. And I just kind of fell into this, and completely serendipity, by the true meaning of the word. Right now, my work is at Canvas, which is in the Bowery in New York City. And you can see it there. But what I discovered by going through there was all the different approaches to upcycling. And, you know, what I learned through doing Nora's class, and I highly recommend it if you haven't taken it yet, do it, because you'll avoid a whole bunch of mistakes that you'll start with. It'll get you really on a good path to doing the right things first and worrying about the right things first. And, you know, I saw from, like, her work is totally different from mine, you know, but we're in the same fight together, you know. And when I started getting, and, you know, I'm not going to go pull myself off as a big, you know, I did this for, you know, because I'm trying to save the earth. I purely did it because I really did it. It was therapy at the time. to be quite honest. And I'll get into a little bit of that too, and how that comes into the equation, and how ultimately it's about art, you know, and we're trying to put art and commerce together. And it's never been an easy road. Not back in the Renaissance, not back in the, you know, ever since we've had commerce. We've always had art, you know, but so it's an interesting struggle for us. I have done many, many things in my life, and I am 65 years old, and I'm a real big believer it's never too late to be who you might have been. And I kind of live that, you know, and I will say I kind of live it unconsciously at this point. One of the things that I have done was I was a sober coach. I used to help people with addiction. And I was called a sober Sherpa. And I was dedicated to the proposition that if you were trying to get on top of Mount Everest, would you rely on a geologist or would you rely on a Sherpa? You know, the geologist knows everything about the mountain, how it was formed, what it's made of, da, 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 da. The Sherpa will tell you it's, you know, it was made by a god, a fire god or something. And, but the Sherpa's been up there and knows how to get up there. And so I used to take people through this intensive 30-day course. And if they remained sober for a year after that, and I got them this motorcycle jacket from Christian Benner. It was kind of an incentive and something to look forward for that first year. They're very expensive. They're one of a kind. He works on nothing but new stuff. So he's not part of the whole upcycling thing at this point, but I'm sure he'll probably come along one of these days. But anyway, so I had a client who was a pro bono, but I was just rooting for all the way because, man, he had come from like really tough, and that's why I did a pro bono. So he remained sober and I wanted to get him a jacket, and I asked Christian if he would make me one, and he said no. He said, make it yourself. So he said, get a jacket, come on down here, and I'll show you how to do it. Because I charge a lot of money for this and I don't work for free. So his miserliness was my gain, because I went down there and I made this jacket for our friend, and it was quite an emotional moment when I gave it to him, as you can imagine. And I made another one for another friend. She had a Forever 21 jacket that had been sitting around our studio forever. And I picked it up and I made this it's still one of my favorite pieces. And then I made another, and then I started painting all my clothes. And the next thing you know, I kind of had to wear my clothes because I didn't have any more clothes to wear. So I had to wear this stuff. And I'm wearing it around Brooklyn, and people are stopping me. They're going, where'd you get that jacket, man? Where'd you go with the pants? Those are awesome. And I was kind of my own marketing billboard, as it were. And I did not want to monetize this. I was just doing it purely because I was enjoying doing it. But I was getting so much feedback and positive feedback about it that I started looking into it. And that's where I met Nor, and then Canvas, and everyone kind of came along, as it were. So now I'm at that point. As a matter of fact, I might have to bug out here real quick and run upstairs because I'm waiting for an iPhone in the mail, an iPhone 12. And I am at that point that I'm sure many of you are at, where we're struggling with how to get the world out there to let us know about how to get the right video, how to get to good social media, how to get some followers, how to get, ay, 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 ay. You know, I mean, I am so old school on a lot of this, you know, that that's my challenge. I can make this stuff all day long. That's the easy part. The hard part for me, the challenge will be for me, is keeping my focus on things like sales, you know, and inventory and all those other fun things. So, you know, it again, it's a struggle of art and commerce, you know, and how we go about doing that. I've also had a lot of issues with how do I price this, you know, which, you know, how do I want to do? I want to do it through the street, or do I want to do it in Bergdorf Goodman, or do I want to do it in a gallery? Maybe a pop-up gallery with a couple of other people. One of the beauties of this is, you know, the rules are being made as we're going along here, you know, and so if you're just getting into this, welcome, because you're in the beginning. And, you know, this will be the future of clothes. You can already see it already. You know, if you get on TV, you'll see it. I've been watching the NBA playoffs, and Levi's is running a lot of commercials stressing, you know, their recycling attitude that they're bringing to it. So it's one of those things that, you know, you can see it on the horizon coming. So, you know, whatever your idea is, take it, run with it, and, you know, just start expanding, keep your mind open, and, you know, we'll see what's going to happen, because hopefully we're again, because we're a small community, we can watch one another grow and become successful. And, you know, I'm not one of those people. One of the things I love about Facebook and social media is seeing other people's gains. You know, it's good for me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel positive, you know, especially in this time of going through COVID. And so let's get to some of the work. I have what I call here like a talisman work. And a talisman is my top of the line work. And the irony of this is it's going to be one of your pieces. I'm going to take, is that Chris, K-R-Y-S, Chris? Okay, so Chris is my customer. She's gotten in touch with me and she says, I've heard about your talisman jackets and I just have to have one. I'll say, okay, great. Chris will send me one of her favorite pieces of clothing that, you know, has probably seen better days, but she just can't get rid of it. You know, she just loves it. And so she sends it to, I get it in the mail. And by the way, I'm sorry, I say she, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be sure, because one of the deals with this is it's what I like to call gender fluid. If it fits and you like it, buy it, wear it, right? It doesn't, there is no male, female, and I try to, you know, work it around. So anyway, is there any way you can put me on the main screen?
You are. You're on speaker view. So when
Okay.
you're talking, you're on the main screen.
All right, so this is what I call an icon back. And it's a symbol. Much of my stuff it's Amo Ergo Sum. Okay, so much of my stuff is all symbology, mythology, everything I've taken from all my studies in philosophy and comparative religion. It's kind of above as below, as we like to say. So this is what I like to call your unconscious symbol. It's going to be yours and yours only. Okay. Now, within the talisman, I will have your influences, perhaps a favorite song. For me, I'm into philosophy. So, and I'm upfront about it. I love to talk about it. So I put it right up front where everyone can see it. So all my favorite philosophers around here. In here, I have sewn into the fabric all the people I love in my life, right over my heart, okay? And that's really important. This is your talisman. This is your piece of clothing to put on when you're depressed, when you're happy, when you're just whatever. This is yours, you know? And what we kind of lack in our lives nowadays, you know, with it is this sense of sacred, you know, having a sacred item, having something like that that's with you. The only thing that seems to be sacred are these things, you know, that we carry around with us as though they were talismans. They're not. They're machines. This is, again, coming from the heart. So I have all these things written into it. I have the lyrics of a couple of my favorite songs. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll have someone sew them in, you know, with the machine. And so we go along the line. So that's the talisman line, and that I made mine. So I even put my name right up front, you know, so everyone will know. Right on the collar, if you were to ask me what I am, I would say a Zoroastrian. And what we talk about is good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. That is what you'll hear them talk about. So I'm going to put it back on because it's my talisman and I need some good luck right now. All right. So I did a line that was pretty interesting. It was called the cryptid line. Does anyone know what a cryptid is? It's like the undiscovered species. Bigfoot is a cryptid. They're all over the world. People have cryptids. They talk about all kinds of things. This was a South African fire burning man that, you know, people would talk about. All again, hand painted. This particular piece is a really beautiful leather jacket, super soft, buttery. I've taken it. I will, many times we put down a layer, okay? One of the things I do is I customize colors, and I'm not like bullshitting when I say customize. It's real customized. I weigh them out. As a hair colorist, I was a hairdresser, okay? And I learned the fact that I could make really custom hair colors by weighing out the percentages of the colors that I needed for that person's particular hair. So they really had a truly, that's why I was booked like a month and a half in advance, you know? And I do the same thing with this. If I want a particular grain, I have a whole bunch of formulas. And sometimes I put them out because I want a particular green. And I know if I use this one, I'll get exactly what I wanted. So these are very three-dimensional, you know, which is why it sucks putting them on racks. And if I had my way, they'd all be hanging like this with a balloon inside them, a little, you know, and they'd be kind of rotating around on a big rack, you know, in a window somewhere. And I guarantee you that would get people walking through the door. This is another icon back. It's a motorcycle jacket. It weighs a ton. And I decided I didn't want to put studs on my clothing because everybody puts studs on their clothing. That's another thing. Stand out, do something different. Don't, you know, if studs are the big thing, go the other way. That's my theory. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. It's not valuable, right? If everybody else is doing it, this is what I learned in hair a long time ago. I could take a haircut and, someone that's not a very good haircutter will do that haircut and it looks like the cover for Bad Hair Day. And I'll do the same haircut with someone that does know how to do a good haircut and that one haircut, and it looks gorgeous. Its value has increased. And so I was putting on wing nuts. I don't know if you can see that, but I put wing nuts. I put screws and bolts and everything else on all throughout the jacket. So it's totally unique. And this is a piece that $1,900 for this. It's one of a kind. And if you're a cyclist like I am, you love to stand out. You like to be seen because you're on a motorcycle, but you're also an egotist and you want to look bad, and this is a jacket right here. My pieces take me anywhere from 6 hours to 3 months to make, depending on what I'm doing. The process is always a little different for each little piece. These are leather chaps. I don't know if you can see them. This is what you wear on your motorcycle. Make sure you don't look like hamburger if you fall off. And they are definitely one of a kind. And it's all these like beautiful little designs that I painted all over them. Again, as above, so below. So a lot of my stuff is cellular, or is it a planet? Is it, I get a lot of my inspiration from things like plants, planets, the sky, dirt, metals, you name it. These are overalls that I love to do. And this is kind of one of the prints that I do with a lot of, they kind of look like cells. And I have a whole bunch of different ones. Again, these are the crazy diamonds. So for summer, I wanted to do something a little different. So I made lazy loops, I call them. Do we remember Daisy Dukes? Anyone remember Daisy Dukes? Yes. So these are all these shorts that I did in same kind of crazy. They're all, each one is a different design. I've got probably 100 of them, that I just made on in 2 weeks. I just sat down and cranked them out. And they're fabulous. And this is definitely another example of the gender fluid. I sell more of these to guys than I do to women at this point. My audience is all over the place, and that's what I really love about it. And it's going to be even more all over the place, I hope, as I grow. I have quite a gay following. I have African-American rap hip hop guys who are just loving the jackets, the oversized jackets and things like that. Let's see.
And those shorts you painted all over with paint first, and then you painted the pattern over them?
I will normally do depending on the fabrics. Now, for instance, I love working with faux leather, but I've discovered that not all faux leather is equal. Like, for instance, the Forever 21 jackets are fabulous. They just take the paint so well, and the colors just bounce right off. And I very rarely have to do more than one coat, right? But some of them turn into rubber when you paint them. I usually use just an acrylic paint. And so what I do is I came up with a real ingenious thing. This is something, another little trick of the trade I do with t-shirts is I take them, I'll take about 10 of them at a time and I'll bury them for 2 months in like 3 feet in a hole. All right. And I'll let the earth eat them up. The earth eats them up. I take them out. I wash them really good a couple of times. And it's a totally different fabric. And then I can start painting. And that's fun. These are just, I can also work with silks. And I actually found some of these dainty little top jackets that I do are super popular. Get a lot of looks. Here's another one. Now, another thing I like to do, this belt was around the waist. So what I do is, and I do this with jackets too, is I cut into the collar, then I'll string the belt right around the collar and use it as a tie. And I do that with the belts all the time. I snip buttons off, put new buttons on. Sometimes I'll put screws in there instead for buttons, wing nuts. I like to do that a lot, you know, so it has a little industrial look to it. Totally breaks it up, you know. This is one of the hip hop coats that I made a bunch of them. They're all orange. A lot of times what I like to do, the front will be totally different from the back. This is not so different, but I'll have a lot of pieces where the color scheme will it kind of throw you, you know, but I like keeping it edgy like that. This is one I just did. Now this is a really cheap $5 faux leather jacket. And again, with, as I say, it's Amo Ergo Sum. So there's an alchemy going here. I got this for $5. I'm going to turn around and sell it for $450. That is a true definition of alchemy. You just took lead and you turned it into gold. This is another one of the cryptids. I love this one because it's just kind of spooky. Another great piece. So, and I'll just, one of the things I got to do was, my father passed away when I first started doing this. So I got to take a lot of his clothes, which were a little big for me, but, and do a lot of his stuff. So they're special to me. This is one of my favorites, canvas. This is a Land's End jacket, another perfect canvas for what you're doing as far as painting goes. Again, as you can see, a lot of the things I do. Another thing I like to do is hieroglyphics, and also the Incan alphabets, things like that, but I don't copy them. I make my own, all right? They're not, you know, I'm not trying to rip off somebody else's culture or their this or that. I'm kind of doing it from my own, what I like to call what they call the collective unconscious, as it were. And this is the last one I'll show. I always like this one. I wear these sweatbands. I'm a drummer also, and I was actually been playing drums professionally since I was 15. I used to sweat so much. I've been wearing these I think since I was 25. And so I have them all over the place. So I took them and I made them into what I call mud flaps. and we put them right around the collar. I've attached them with bolts, and I painted them. And this was a piece that was down. It's a motorcycle jacket, vintage. Got the elbow things, the whole bit right there. It's a gorgeous piece. Again, another icon back symbol there. So, you know, part of this is having your own aesthetic, I think, for me at least. I'll speak for myself. And I can see, like, whenever I walk into a canvas, I don't even have to see that it's Nora's stuff. I can tell when I look at it that, you know, she had her stuff is there, things like that. Everyone in there has kind of an aesthetic that you can kind of look that comes from them. And that's one of the beauties of this, you know. I mean, it's truly, you know, you hear a lot of hype and garbage about, we were laughing about, I was watching a commercial the other day, and there's this creator, you know, there's a, hi, I'm a creator, and he's in this beautiful loft in Brooklyn, you know, with the skylight and everything overlooking the city. And I'm like, yeah, no, it ain't like that, you know. We're down here in our little hovels in Brooklyn, you know, painting and sewing and bitching and moaning and but putting it together all the same, you know. So I'll leave you with that. You know, a salute to all of you that are doing this. I hope to meet you more along the way. If you do get into New York, or we'll just check out Canvas, or if you are in New York, check out Canvas. If not, do it online, obviously. You know, I like what they're doing there as far as the emphasis on, you know, the climate change and all the other things that are, it's right in line with what I'm doing and what I want to do. I think I covered it all. Thank you for listening.
Can you show us more about the process for painting and show us the paints you use and just kind of talk us through that a little bit?
Okay. Again, the process is a little of the unconscious, right? So I don't plan too much and I don't plan too little. I use just the Blick acrylics, you know, which are just fine. One of the things I like, and I just finished one the other day. I love the way that the paint affects the fabric. You know, the fabric changes, whether it's denim, whether it's even faux leather, the fabric changes when we put paint to it. But you get different results. These are what I call paper shirts. They're light white cotton shirts that I'll get, and I'll paint them, and I'll do, this is where the custom color comes in, okay? And what I'll do is I will do one of my custom colors that I want, and I will do the whole shirt, let it dry. And then I'll go back and do, like I wanted to do copper up here and on the sleeves. So I went back and did that. Then I will take, depending, one of the things I like to do for the cells is I'll just take my paintbrush and go blot, 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 blot. I don't like to spend too much time on being, you know, I want to kind of move and keep it moving. So I'll go through and put my orange blots. I let them dry, and then I will take my Sharpie. I've got a whole collection, and I can do all the painting around. Let's say I put in here a silver, and then just went black through that. Then taking all this with the silver and connecting all this again. Is it a cell? Is it a flower? Is it a, you know, that type of thing. So I call them paper shirts. And when you put them on, boy, paper jackets is what I meant to say. I call them paper jackets because they're hefty.
Is there a layer of paint or some kind of prep that you have to paint on the materials first?
No, but the one thing I would suggest is, especially on the leathers, is cleaning them first. All right, that's something I left out. I always clean them to make sure. You can tell the dirty ones. The minute you start painting, the paint just is not taken, right? And it's like, oh, oops, I didn't clean it, you know, so.
And what do you clean it with? Is there something special that you use on leather?
Got this boot leather cleaner, it's English something, I've forgotten the name of it, but it's a gentle cleaner and you just put it as a cream. And as you wipe, you'll see the dirt coming off. Let it dry really well. Make sure it's dried real well, and then you start again. Start on your thing. I very rarely, I get most of my stuff, I get all of my stuff all over. I will get anything from $100 leather jacket to a $3 shorts, you know. Denim shorts. I never washed them beforehand. Now, as far as the care for most of this stuff goes, something like this, or like I do a lot of pants, like for instance, I have some pants on right now. Let's see. And I've washed them probably about 8 or 9 times. I just turn them inside out and wash them in cold, you know, a gentle detergent, and you're good to go. I actually, a lot of the stuff, I don't even recommend cleaning or washing at all. Just kind of, it's like a jacket, man. You know, I have certain jackets I've never cleaned. This is one of them. This was, again, this is, you want to talk about alchemy. This is one of my favorite pieces to the point where I don't want to sell it. And it's a cheap old raincoat. But, and because it's kind of gold, it's hard to see, but it's got a lot of detail work in it that's hard to see on a computer screen. But I literally will take this and throw it in my backpack, and off I go, you know. And that's the way I like most of this stuff to be, you know, functional in that regard, you know. But even though it's art and you're wearing it, it still has to be functional for the most part. Now, not all of it, but a lot of it. And I would say, again, as far as the process goes, sometimes I'll have to do 2 paint coats, sometimes not. That's a feel thing. Sometimes I like the brush strokes. I'll use a beat up bold brush on purpose because I want to create texture with the paint. So that's another thing. Don't try to be perfect. One of the things I noticed from doing a lot of art galleries over the years, and as I look at the edges of the paintings and around, and often you'd see blotches and splatters that, you know that it was a mistake and it probably shouldn't have been there, but no one paid attention to it because it was so small. We got a question from Stacy, and I think I just answered that, but I'll do it again. I just turn them inside out and do it in cold. And for the most part, it hasn't failed me yet. I let them air dry. Do not put them in dryers, definitely. Not acrylic paint. You'll have nothing but smudge. Any other questions?
Well, have you considered using fabric paint?
Yeah, but it's I'm not a big fan. I actually like the way that the acrylic makes the texture feel. I haven't had really great results with the fabric. But that's just it. What with me right now, I'm open to a whole bunch of things in the future. Right now, for instance, you won't see any writing except my logo, which I put on everything. Now that's part of the branding thing that I actually this is going against most of my ethos as a New Yorker, this whole line. I wore black, brown, and black most of the time. And I always used to tell dudes, I say, man, don't be putting no logos on there, man. What do you want to do in there? Advertising for them? And I have logos all over my stuff, right? And it's just kind of happened that way. And that's one of the reasons I like it. And I'd also noticed once I started doing that, people were asking me, what does Amo Ergo Sum mean? And that's just one of those things, stumbling into marketing. I did a lot of that.
Well, it's so part of the story. It's part of the brand. And even though you have the logos on your pieces, they're hand painted. So
each one is a different, each, as a matter of fact, I have a whole stack of them over here, that I use. I will do, that's another thing with these. One of the things I'm fascinated by is fasteners, buttons. And I've noticed there's a whole bunch. So I've been working on doing fasteners. I have several pieces that are magnets, which I love using, but they're kind of difficult attaching them to fabric. I've discovered. So I've had to do a lot of experimentation with that.
There are actually magnets that you can buy that come in a plastic casing that are meant to be sewn onto garments, but they're expensive.
Now, is it one of these babies?
No.
Okay, that's like
they're meant for bags. There's actually a store in Manhattan called Sil Thread, SIL Thread, that has all kinds of supplies for sewing and pattern making and all of that stuff, and they sell them there. But they're $2.25 per piece. So it adds a lot to the cost. Yes.
It is a lot. One of the things is I sat down before I monetized this and did a little, cost analysis. And even though I am taking stuff that is, from Salvation Army, my profit margin is still really small. And I'm selling them for lots of money too. But between the marketing and the this and the that, and one of the ironies of me being in the clothing industry, I was a hairdresser for years. So the hairdressing and clothing is kind of aligned, industries. And my wife was a garmento, and I mean a real garmento back in the day, And so it's kind of ironic. She passed away 25 years ago. And it's ironic that I should end up back in the business that, that she was in. One of the reasons she loved me so much was that I used to love to shop. We would go like shopping together, and we would look for trend shopping and stuff like that, So I have, in that way, I do have a lot of foundation in this business, a little history, personal. Are there any other questions? Anything anyone would like to know about me or the line itself, the aesthetic?
So we have another question in the chat. How do you determine your price markup?
First, by the quality. The first thing I look, the quality of the piece of clothing is the one thing I look at, especially for the coats. Some of the coats themselves cost $40 to $60 to $80, And I'll tell you, they're worth it, because they're just superior canvases to work on. when I get one of these really nice Italian leather coats, I think before I move, I really have to figure out where I want to go and the size of the jacket. So that is one of the first things I do. How much time I spent on it. And, I think I have never, ever, and I don't consider myself an artist. That's another kind of funny thing, but I didn't pick up a paintbrush until I started doing this. This is my first, foray into all this. But I think with like most artists, there's certain pieces that you just love that you did, and certain pieces that you look at and you go, meh. That's your emotional reaction. So a little about how I determine the price, because I'm in a totally different racket here. I'm not doing 15 pieces of the same thing. So I don't determine a price markup in the same way that perhaps Noor would, She's looking at it from a different viewpoint. For me, it's a different, whole thing. So how unique it is another thing. And so that's basically how I do it. I think the sole thing for me is how much the piece cost me in the first place.
And that leads me to another question I have. You mentioned that you source your garments from all over. Do you sometimes go to a large scale facility like a rag house, or have you found some tricks of sources that you do better with?
I don't go to rag houses at this point because I'm just not that big enough scale at this point. I don't need a ton of stuff. So I will tend to go to Buffalo Exchange, the L Train here, Goodwill, Salvation Army. You never know where you're going to find a really good. Housing Works is another place I can always find really top-notch stuff. There's certain places you're going for top-notch stuff, and then there's certain places you're going for volume. But I don't need so much volume that I need to go to a rag house at this point. But I look forward to that day.
The rag house actually has a vintage department as well, where they have some more pieces that are special, but they do have a price minimum. I think it's a minimum value that you have to spend when you go there.
You have any idea what is that in the thousands, or is it?
No, I think it's about $1,200 or $900, something around that range.
And that would be worth it, for just big one. That would be a big time. But when I get to that scale, I think, that'll be something to worry about, at this point, I can keep it local.
Yep. And then also you could ask for donations as well.
Well, that's what we do with the talismans. That's one of the ironies of the talisman, because I'm going to charge the most for the talisman. I have 3 levels that I'm going to marketing, shall we say. The first one is the talisman. It's kind of custom. And then the other is just my regular, what I normally do. And then I have the line, it's inspired by Mark Rothko. I have a couple of pieces, I think they're buried under here, but it's nothing but block color. There's no writing, there's no painting, it's just all block color. But the block colors will be range in intensity in the block, whatever that block may be. And they're usually on pants, on the back of jackets, things like that. And that again comes into my custom, where I can do the custom colors and start working on that. And that's what I call streetwear. And that I'd like to sell for, like anyone could afford it.
So then that leads me to another question. And so do you have a vision, or could you see yourself scaling by, I don't know, like the Andy Warhol model where you would bring people in to start painting for you, something along that line, but then, or do you, because that's would be hard because it's your handwork that makes your pieces so special.
That is a great question, and I'm so glad you asked it. Because I actually have kind of, as we all sit there painting away, we're thinking about the future of the past, which is the problem. But when I think about the future, I often think of having a couple of other artists with me, and I actually know who they are. They're friends of mine, and they would be perfect for what I'm doing. They would get it. That's another thing I've learned about this, and again, we kind of find ourselves here. I am licorice in the candy store. All right, so most people come in, they want chocolate, or they want this or that. And very few people go for licorice, but the people that do go for licorice, they love it. Like me, I love licorice, right? So that's kind of where I am, and knowing that is where I kind of have to find my niche. But to get back to your question, there is a definite aesthetic to this. I can map out my designs on a wall, on a design wall, and you will see the thread that links most of it. You will see that there's something primal about it. But there's something that also has a lot of that comparative religion, coming through. Again, symbols, hieroglyphs, things like that. It gives the artists a creativity they can take in and a freedom they can take in, but they also know what they're shooting for. And, all they have to adapt to is doing clothes instead of doing a canvas. But yeah, I'd love to do that. That would be fantastic. And another thing along those same lines, as far as marketing goes, is having guest artists, friends of mine, I'll have you come in and do a painting,
Yeah, collaborations, right?
Right.
Collaborations are always.
Right. Yes, this is rife for collaboration, and yeah. I'm totally in. One of the cool things is about Amo Ergo Sum, if I may say so myself, is I have really gone all over the internet looking for upcycled artware, till it's coming out my ears. And I've very rarely seen anything that looks like this. I see a lot of pithy sayings about what I should do with my life. Or I see a lot of goth images, and I see a lot of bright neon stuff, in splashy paints and things like that. But I haven't seen a lot of stuff like this. So that just says to me that it's totally wide open for creativity, because I'm just pulling the top, I'm just the very top surface layer. There's so much more to be done, that one can do with this idea and concept of being an actual walking canvas. We're not used to it. And it's also right now kind of against the norm. You look around on the street, see what people are wearing. It's I like to call it commie wear, because it's just so uniformly alike. In my humble opinion.
Yes, your work definitely has a unique look to it. And as you were saying before, it's has its own brand where even though they're all different, you can tell that it's an Amo Ergo Sum piece just by seeing it. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share your site real quick. Just so people can see. So if you want to learn more about Amo Ergo Sum, you can go to the website. I'm going to share it in the chat as well. And I'm going to share everything in the workshop notes. I'm going to share links to the paint, the paint pens, and everything that we talked about today. So once again, the website is on brand as well and very, very cool. And I also just want to say real quick before we wrap up that I think that, you know, you mentioned the struggle between getting exposure and selling. And I think what you do and your story and your process would make such great content for social media that you could be posting videos of yourself painting and just that process and just some of that raw behind the scenes. And it wouldn't be that hard, but that's just my suggestion for Instagram and TikTok. TikTok's another one that is very relevant right now that I'm trying to figure out, but
Can I say something on that? Can I say something on that, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes feel like how probably some of the indigenous people felt when they saw, you know, modernity coming across the plains, you know. I'm old enough, I go before cell phones, before, you know. And I have seen how the new technology is changing things for good and for bad, you know. And it's like there's no other way to go but forward, right? But at the same time, it's like, what am I signing up for? You know, and I have to ask myself that all the time. What am I signing up for? You notice how they have in these things right now, you scroll through 25 million paragraphs, and at the end you put, I agree, you know, and you're signing up for what you have no idea you're signing up for, right? I mean, we just kind of do it, you know? So at essence of that, I have to ask myself, you know, really, to be honest, I want to get to the point where I can hire someone to do that.
For sure.
I don't have to do any more of that anymore, you know, because I find it just brings a whole new level of craziness to what's already crazy, you know, and that's me, by the way, you know.
I absolutely agree. But I'll just, you know, at the same time, if you can just get yourself in the habit of like, okay, I have my little phone tripod sitting right here. I'm just like, and I force myself to do this as well, because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't feel like getting dressed today, or I just want to sew. I don't feel like setting up the phone. But if you just push yourself to do it, you know, a couple days a week and spend 5 minutes, like just behind, like, here's the process of making this jacket. And, you know, just take a couple photos along the way, take a 2-minute video along the way here and there, and just get in the habit of like doing it, because that story is also going to really help you sell the pieces. And no one can really tell the story better than you. And no one can really be so intimate with the process as you. And I went to this talk that was about sharing content on TikTok. And this guy was an artist who was also there. And he said, I'm really struggling with sharing my work because it was copied. So he said now he doesn't post any images of his artwork, but he instead posts videos of himself painting. But if you want to see the work, you have to go to the gallery. And I thought that was just really interesting and such a great way to handle it.
Right. And I also come from another place, and I say this for anyone out there, if you feel the same. I come from a place where it's like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, you know? And that's like so self-defeating right there, right?
But clearly they do. And clearly you have a lot to say, because your pieces say a lot, you know?
Well, you know, I have to get over that thinking, you know, but this is kind of the artistic misfit toy thinking that we have as artists. That's why we always need fucking representatives, you know, we need agents because we can't express, you know, except through this, you know. And so, you know, that's the conundrum of, again, what I was talking about, bringing commerce and art together, you know.
Yes.
And I tell you, I had to get myself, because I know what it's like to take something you're passionate about and put a price tag on it. It can really just totally ruin it, you know. I didn't want to do that, you know. So I really had kind of, my first year was putting my toe in the water a lot, but that's all right, because that's what I needed to do. Now I'm swimming, you know, and, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll be going for a bronze medal one of these days. I'll be happy with bronze.
For sure. Look, you got to have the vision and dream big, right? There's no limit on what you can dream of.
You know, and there again, I mean, I've been trying to hook up with Levi's, because I would love to do a collaboration with them.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, they'd be perfect, you know, if anyone has any feelers out there. Again, where I struggle with this with music, trying to get people to listen to your music is almost impossible as trying to get them to look at your clothes. It's probably even more, it's harder now than ever, you know, because people are inundated with, you know, other people's stuff. It's so easy to make now, you know. So, yeah, so there are always, you know, these little challenges, you know, but I'll figure it out sooner or later.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any more questions? I feel like, I'm sorry, I've been taking up all of the time for questions, but do we have any more questions before we wrap up? Okay. So thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
For being here today and for sharing your very interesting and unique story.
Thank you. We'll be talking soon.
And the workshop will be published on the blog next week, and I will be sharing links to everything we talked about. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And hope you guys all have a great day.
Be well. Bye.